All right, welcome to the stream. We've got some chat overlay set up. So yeah, we might be testing. We might be tweaking that as we go, depending how that goes. But we've got a decent little setup here. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got from yesterday. So we've got our scene rendering, we've got level 1 billiard balls, and then we've got level 2 transition. Now at the moment, we can go off screen any other direction, but it's only ever loading level 2. So we're gonna be tackling that today. We need to do a couple of things. This is cool, I like chat on screen like that. And maybe it's a little cut off here. Let me just scoot it down just a bit. Oh, you know what? It's because of the crop I put on there. Sorry guys, let me try to fix this. If I get it fixed now, then we can kind of just set it and forget it in OBS, and then it'll be there. Let's uncrop the top here. Yeah. So like if you guys share any GIFs or emojis or whatever, it looks kind of crap. But honestly, I didn't even see a tutorial that would get me a transparent box like this for Linux anywhere. So this is kind of cool. But you know, we'll tweak it as we keep going. Hopefully that's getting to a place where it's looking good. Chat on screen will help YouTube uploads. Yes, exactly. So if people are watching the YouTube, they'll see like the live chat. If they want to participate, they can hit over. I think all of my videos, at least all my new ones, have linked my Twitch in the description, so they should be able to come over if they want. And I've been having so much fun on Twitch. Like Twitch has been so much better than YouTube for me for multiple reasons. You know, just like, first of all, just being able to talk to people is really cool. I would call my streams and I would just record them on OBS like this. But now I'm actually streaming, so it's cool. Okay. So now that this is set up. Okay. So we're trying to prevent, you know, right now we can't ever get level 1 back. So what we have to do is, once we're beginning our transition, we have to take in the current map and then determine what transition we're doing. And depending on which transition we're doing, we're going to index into a different global map. Now there's another step we got to do, which is if we're in map 1.1, which is the top left map of the whole overworld, we shouldn't be able to go left or right because there's no map, you know, to the left or up of it. So we have to kind of limit our bounds so we don't try to index into a map table that isn't there. So we got to do that, and then we've got to hopefully give us new levels, and then upon the transition, we're going to be inheriting the correct map for the grid, depending on the transition. So let's get going here. Now, if we take a look at our scene class, I believe this is where we're doing our shifting. So this is we're calling the begin shifting, and if you take a look, we left ourselves a little hint here, which is assign next map. So right now the next map is always map 1, 2, which is why only level 2 billiard ball levels are shown up. So, man, and the chat is still off screen at the top there. I guess it's okay because it'll scroll. I just don't like how it's kind of overlaid like that. I guess it's fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It just depends on what you guys talk about, I guess. Depends how it scrolls, but let me see. Sorry, I'm just like, if I get this figured out, we won't have to tweak it much, or I can tweak it off stream here. But let's try to just get it. I'm gonna uncrop the top just a bit. Okay, so there's the little line. So if we don't cut off that little line, then we'll know that's the very top. And then just scoot that to the top. Okay. Okay. So now that little line is the very top of that chat. Okay, I think that's okay. All right. So instead of hard coding in this 1, 2, I think we need to assign this based on the transition. So let's take a look at our map declarations at the moment, and it's literally just a map 1, 1 and a map 1, 2. So I think what we can do is modify this self-map field. So in our scene, we have a reference to our current map as well as our next map. And we've got whatever our current map row is because our scene was given that via map row. Now, do we change that map row based on anything? Let me see if we change that ever. We don't. We only ever just assign it once to our current map. Okay, so our current map. Okay, so we're assigning whatever map object we have from our instantiation of it. So this is when we actually instantiate our scene in our play state. So if we look at our play state and we go for that scene view instantiation, that's it right here. This scene view 1, 1 is the map that we're instantiating at, which is just level 1. So we'll see here. So if we're taking that, passing it into our scene to get whatever our current map is, then by the time we update our current map, which is getting updated here in the, it should get, okay. So yeah, it just gets, and we left ourselves a little note here to assign correct map. So it's hard coded to the 1, 2, but we want it to be whatever the next map was, the next map's row and column. So let's see if we can't figure this out. And then we have to also make sure we can't do a left transition or an up transition if we're in the top left. So we have to kind of figure that out too. And then one other thing I did was make an OBS scene for like if I gotta go do something. Oh no, and then that messes the chat. Okay, well, so we know that reloads the chat, so now you guys can go. I guess that's a handy way to just clear the chat if someone puts some unmentionables in there. Looking at you, Fart Knocker. But that's cool. I can switch from there. So let us try to modify our next map based on the direction we're shifting first. So instead of doing it right here in our begin shifting function, we want to modify our next map depending on which transition we're at. So if we go here, a left transition would be we don't want to hard code in anything here. We just want to put what our current maps row is. So what we can do is we can say self.currentMap, and then we can go into that map row or map column. So this would be map row, and we might have to do some arithmetic on here. So self.currentMap.map column, and then our next map, if we do a left transition, would get a map row -1 and the same map column. So there's that, but at the moment, if we do that, it will just crash because we'd be trying to go into an index that doesn't exist. There's no 0 index in Lua, so I think we would just crash. Let's try it, just cause. Yeah, oh Jesus, yeah, we crashed so fast. Okay, so we want to prevent that. So what we can do is we can check if our we want to see if our current map row is, and it's actually going to be column for left. It's actually going to be column for left. So we're going to say if our column is equal to 1, then we don't want to do this. We don't even want to shift. We don't want to begin shifting. So we just want to return, I guess. So we would do nothing, and then we can say otherwise. Oops. What did I do? Okay. Else. Begin shifting. Okay, so if we're current map column 1, we don't want to do anything because we can't initiate a left transition because there's no map over there. So I don't know if that's enough. But if we are able to shift, then we want to assign our next map to the correct value, which would be it wouldn't be the map row, it would be the map column -1. Because we're trying to go left one scene. So let's try that. And we're missing a then. I don't know what it's 14. Oh, yeah, equality, not assignment. So we're testing if it's equal to the map column of 1, and if it is, we're not going to do anything. Otherwise, we're going to assign that next map and then begin shifting at that next map. So let's see, we should not initiate a left transition here, and we're crashing. So 17 map column is crashing. Now, I thought this return would not yeah, I thought this return would stop it from us doing that. Let's make sure we're starting at 1-1. Yeah, we are. We are starting at 1-1 because our billiard balls are 1. Yeah, we've got a 1-1 instantiation there. How do we say we just want to break the loop if it's like that? I mean, no loop to break because it's just a conditional. So if we leave it blank, we still crash because it's trying to index, it's trying to set our current map to -1. What does it say? Does it say it tries to perform arithmetic on a nil value? So map column is nil at this point. But, oh, it's not, it's a... Okay, well, we're instantiating a map object, saving it into our current map, which at self.currentMap. That's why I thought we'd be able to do a self.currentMap and then go into the map row. Now, it's not, oh, we don't want to instantiate one here. Wait, do we? No, we just want to, no, yeah, we do. The next map is a map object. See, my question is like, we shouldn't even be executing this because our map column is 1. So if it can go into our current map.map column and it's not crashing there, then we are able to go into those fields. It's just that our current map.row is nil for some reason. If we just, for just testing purposes, we say that our current map row is going to get 1 here, and then test it, we still crash on 17. Because it's nil. All right, I was not expecting today to go like this already, but it is. What do we want to do? There's got to be another way to do this. We want to prevent even asking or running this event listen if our current map column is a certain thing. So we can go ahead and just try it now. Say if our map column of our current map is equal to 1. We need to add an if there. And actually, we only want to run that if our current map does not equal 1. So if we put our event listener in there, we shouldn't even trigger the left transition. So it should leave the next map untouched. Good. Okay. Now, and we do have a little bit of a gap there, like a little bit, you know, his nose gets cut off while he walks in there, but that's intentional. That's just kind of how it is in Link's Awakening. You can walk off the screen a little bit like this without triggering a left scene transition. So it's a little deeper than we think just because. Now, we want to do the same thing and prevent all these other transitions. So it's like, I guess we also have to, oh, hey, thanks for watching. Yeah, we're building a game here. To Kaitla, hey, thanks for watching. But yeah, so we're building this little game. We're trying to limit the map movement at the moment, and we're crashing, but that's okay. We're gonna do a similar kind of thing, which is limit our right transition and this depends how big our map is. So if we go, we are actually giving ourselves an overworld map height and map width to populate our global maps table with. So right now it's a 5x5. So what we can do is limit this to a 5x5. So we can kind of, and instead of 1, we can, at least on the right transition, we can say, you know, if we're all the way to the right, our row would be 1, but our column would be 5. So we can say if our current map column is equal to, and we don't have to say 5, we can say our max, or our overworld map width, which is 5, but just in case we change that, we can put it right there. So we can only do a transition if we're not on screen 5. On our map column. So we should be able to go right, and we're not going right. So let's see. If our current map column is not equal to the map over width, then go ahead and shift right. So I'm curious if we just yank this right transition, put it back in our init here, and we just see if we get that back working. No, we crash. We crash at 41. But why do we crash there? Because we're not assigning our next map. Okay. So what we need to do is say we do need to assign what next map, because that's how it knows what to render onto the screen. So we'll just take that and we'll say we assign our self map as soon as we know we're not equal to the rightmost map. So if we can move to the next right screen, we're going to go ahead and initialize a map object at that next location. And we've got that's nice. Yeah, C#. A lot of people do C#. I know Unity does a lot of C# stuff. I'm programming in a scripting language called Lua using the game engine Love2D because a lot of the resources I've been learning game dev from are in Lua and Love2D from Harvard CS50 game dev. So that's why I'm using that. But I am interested in other languages too. But, let's try to put the correct values here. So we want a self.currentMap map row for this first one. Now if we're moving to the right, we're going to get a column plus 1. So we're going to get our self.currentMap map column plus 1. So this should assign our next map, and now we should actually scroll off screen if we try to walk off right. So let's see if we do that, and we don't. So we're not quite I'm kind of curious if we just put if we hard code in the right map, if it'll do it, or if there's something flawed in our logic. So we'll try to say row 1, column 2. That's the only other map we have available at the moment. But let's see if we comment out this one, we can see if we're even rendering that. And we're not. So something's going wrong here in our conditional here. So we're not able to transition any screens. I thought it'd be okay to say if our column does not equal, and you know what? It's the operator tilde equals for not equal. So the not is for like a Boolean value, which I guess the equality expression evaluates to a value, but let's see if we put in the not equals if it works. So we're just, and we're rendering the wrong levels. Let me turn this one off, turn this back on, and we'll see. We should be just level 1 right now, and we're crashing because map column doesn't exist on line 21. See, so okay, I think we might need to do this after our event dispatch. So we won't do it all the time, we'll just do it upon that dispatch. So we got level 1 back. Now let's see if we get level 2. And we don't. Okay. We are starting in level 1, so that's okay. Let me try to put this one in there again and see. If this crashes, then we really need to fix something else. Okay, so that works. So that works. So something's wrong with our logic here that we're saying our current map row and current map column. So we're instantiating a map at the current map row, which our current map row is 1, so that should evaluate the same. And then our current map column should also be 1, which means a +1 would get 2, which should be the same as this line of code. But for whatever reason, we're crashing when we get over there because on scene 22, map column is nil. So why? It's almost like we can't, whatever this map column is, let's take a look at our map class and see what our map column becomes. Well, our second parameter is just called column. Oh, it's just called column. Okay, well that's the problem. We need it to be called map row and map column. And then I guess we would pass in here this self.map_row and map column. Oh lordy. Map row and then self.map column. Okay. And I totally spelled that wrong. Okay, let's go back into our scene. Now, hopefully this arithmetic won't be crashing now. Yes. Okay, so we've got 1 to 1. We don't have back just yet, which we're only checking if our this should be map row, not column. So we can change this to map row. Because if any of our rows are on the top left, we shouldn't be able to go left. But if we go right, and we're in 1, 2 now, we should be able to go back, which we're not able to either. So we got to figure that out. And actually, we're not assigning the next map. So let's go ahead and do that. We assign our next map to become the current. So if we move left, we're going to be the same row, but a column -1. So we keep our current map row, but we get a -1 here. And then we can't go left, but if we go right into 1, 2, then we should be able to go back left. And we're not. So if our current map row, okay, so this isn't right. This is, you know what, this is column. Yeah, because if we're in the first column, we shouldn't be able to go any further left. But we should be able to go left here. We're still not triggering it. We are assigning it a next map. So I'm curious. We would get our same row and our current map column. Now we are doing a map column in our map class right now. Map column, yes. And that is the ID of our global map table. Okay. So I don't see why it's not working. We go to our scene. Is this all we have to ask? Like if our current map, and let's see, we initialize, oh, you know what? We don't update our current map, do we? Because we would need to update our current map once we get the new one. Oh, and you know what? We already left ourselves a note for it. We don't, okay. This is why it's messing up. We've got to assign our current map based on what direction. So it's almost like, oh shit. This is tough because we need a reference to our current map as well as our next map. So It's almost like we need to keep track. We need to keep track of what transition we're in and then do the arithmetic based on that transition outside of our event listening here. So what I'm going to do is just give ourselves another couple variables, and it's, well, actually we can do, let's do a self.transition direction, and we'll initialize it to nil. But when we do a left transition, we'll set that transition direction to be equal to a string that is left. And then we'll do this for every direction we do. So this is a right, this is a up, which we need to do a little differently, but let's go ahead and put it. So this is up, and then this is our down. So now what we can hopefully do is assign our current, by the time we're done, by the time we finish shifting our camera, we need to assign the correct map here instead of the hard-coded map. And the thing is, when we go right, this is the current map, so I don't foresee this actually solving our problem to go back to the left, but we need to do this anyway. So what we'll do is we'll say if our self.current transition direction is equal to left, then we're gonna assign it, and we would assign this a specific map instantiation depending on this. So we would say, and actually, you know what? I think we can. We don't have to do any of this actually, because we're assigning our next map right here. So this is based on our transition direction. And it's already called next map. So all we have to do is say, current map gets next map. So our next map becomes our current map, or rather our current map becomes what our next map was. And then we flush our next map so we don't have it anymore. So we're going to copy that next map into our current map. Okay, let's see. So we can't shift there. Let's see if down works. And we crash. 46 next map is a nil value. So let's go to line 46, and we're... Okay, so, and that's because our down, we didn't initiate our next map instantiation. So what we'll just do, let's do this where we're saying if for a up transition, if our self.current map dot map, let me see here. If we're going up, then if our map row is equal to 1, we shouldn't be able to go up. So what we can do is say, if it does not equal 1, then go ahead and do the event listening. And then for our down transition, we can say if our self.current map dot map, you know what? Yeah. For an up, if our row is 1, we can't go up. And then if we're going down, if our row is our max overworld map height. So we would say map map row does not equal our overworld map height. Then we want to go do that listening. And then now we can put in our next room assignments, and we should be able to do a down transition. So let's try, we're gonna say that our next map on an up transition is gonna get next map is gonna get a map object of our. We're moving up. We've got the same row. No, we've got one row higher. So we've got our current map, dot map column. No, dot map row -1, and then the same column. So self dot current map dot map column. Now this is going to be the same. And then for moving down, we're going to say that our next room gets one row beneath us and same column. I think that's right. So let's see if this is working. Nope. Bad argument 2. That's a different. Wow, our map 32 crashed there, which is not what I was expecting. We probably didn't instantiate it correctly. Self.current map dot map row. Okay, well, I'm already kind of stumped. I think I guess what's the difference when we initialize the next map in our begin shifting versus, I mean, this is essentially in our begin shifting function because we're calling the begin shifting right after. Okay. I don't know what to try. The only thing I could think of is that we're miscalculating these conditions here. I don't know if we want to do any logic. Yeah, you know what? Let's take this out of. We don't want our event transitions being clogged up. We want them to always be listening for the transition, but then we'll only execute the function if the certain conditions is met. So we'll keep our event function here, but we'll put our conditional inside of it, and then we'll see if that helps us out. Okay, and we'll see if that helps. Okay. Because, yeah, I guess I just don't know if the event listening is getting in the way. I really don't know. Okay, let's try this and see. Okay. Still bad argument 2. Let's try up. It shouldn't let us go there, but right. Okay. Right works, and we got one back, but it's, oh god. Okay. And then we crash on down. Okay, I'm very confused. Why was our self next map? ever here in our shifting. I guess. Does it make sense to put it there? No, well, yeah, the only thing I'm kind of thinking we should put, that's the only thing we did different, was take out the next map assignment out of our begin shifting function, but I don't see why that would change anything. Maybe let's keep our transition directions in there, and we'll try to do this. If it's a left transition, we'll go to our begin shifting function, and if it's a left transition, our shift X is -1, so let's do that. Is that right? No, shifting left is minus shift X. So if shift X is smaller than 0, we do that one. We'll do our right transition if our shift X is positive, so shift X is positive here, we'll give our next map here, and then for a down transition, which is a shift Y of a positive value, we're gonna do this. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. And see, I feel like we need to do this before we dive into changing that field so it doesn't get overwritten. And then our last one, an up transition, we want to go. An up transition is a negative shift Y. So if shift Y is smaller than 0, we want to give us the next map before we go into that object and change its values. Let's see if we're still crashing. Yeah. So what's going on? Well, we're not asking if we're at the wrong overworld height, but going from 1.1 to 1.2 shouldn't do that. So why does 49 next map crash? Oh, yeah, we need it. Oh God, okay. Shoot, man, okay. So we'll try this. This is left. So we'll say that this is, if our shifting direction, what was it? Self dot transition direction is equal to left, then we're gonna go and give us the next map so that we don't crash by the time we try to index our next map here or try to modify it. And then we need this for all our directions. We'll say if our self dot transition direction is equal to right, and then got to do all our transition directions here, and then we'll see. We have to also reset our transition direction upon finishing a transition, so we don't carry over an incorrect transition direction. So we'll go here. Shift X is positive, should be a shift right, and then shift Y negative should be a shift up. And then the last one is our shift down. Let's just double check we did that right. For a shift Y being positive would be a down. So shift Y being a positive would be a down transition here, because our second argument here is positive. So hopefully we did that right. And then So now we initialize our next map based on whatever direction we are transitioning into, and then we need to flush this to false upon finish shifting as well. So finish shifting, we go ahead and set our transition direction to be equal to nothing. Nada. Okay, and already crashing at C99. We just want to assign that. We're not testing it. Scene 118 is crashing. Oh, geez. 118. Okay, normally when it's when it says the last line of that, we're missing an end. So yeah, we're missing an end here. Found that right away. Okay. So let's see if we can go down. We cannot because bad argument 2 in our map, Lua. So map, what is going on? We are assigning our current map to be the next map. But that's only on a finish shifting, so that shouldn't be it. What we're doing in our scene is rendering our current map, and then we render our next map if there is one. I think it's crashing on the next map because every time we initialize a transition, we're crashing. So something about our next map assignments is not... it's just not working. So let me try to just hard code in these values and see if we get it back to working. If they aren't working by the time we hard code these back in, then we're really screwed. So we just need to say that our self.nextMap, and let's just test right for now. We'll say that it gets a map object at R1, 2 for the next map for a right transition. So let's see if right doesn't crash. Okay, so we're working there, but we're not rendering the same thing because we're seeing this is weird. Why would our next map not be I'm thinking if we change this to be that same map object, it wouldn't stop rendering by the time we're done transitioning. And that means, let's see. Yeah, so that fixes it, which tells me that our next map assignment isn't quite working. Because we should be able to just put the next map into our current map and have that work. But something's not functioning right. If we take a look at what our current map is, it's a map object, because these parentheses here tell us to give us a map object with these parameters, and our map class is right here. So this is the object, and it has a table for rendering tiles. It's got a map row and a map column, and that map row and map column is part of the map ID here. That's our 2D array that we declare over here. We're explicitly saying map 1 is all these sprites, map 1, 2 right next to it, to the right is all of these sprites. So how come we're not able to assign our next map into our current map, especially if next map is a map object, which it is because we have map, then parentheses, and then those two parameters for whatever row of our current map. And maybe, so all this line of code does is give us an empty, let's see, it gives us an empty table in every row for the height of our map, and then for every width, it appends a ID of, I guess I'm confused why this is in the init function, actually. because in order to say, oh, and you know what? No, it's because we're using the global map object here that we've already declared. If we go check out, if we check out our map declarations, we've got an empty table in the map for every height, and we've got an empty table for every width in every height. So that should be a total of 80 empty tables to put in a tile ID. And we're assigning those IDs manually here. So in our class here, what this is doing is giving our tiles table, which is how we're rendering it. We're adding an empty table for every height. We're inserting into every height. We're appending a table of 2 values, a key value pair of an ID, and this whole thing actually just evaluates to one number, and it is whatever number our constant is referencing from our corresponding map. So if our map object is given 1, 1, it's going to go into our map 1, 1 table at index of count, which is going to be ultimately 1 through 80 for all the tile sets. And it's going to go through, and it's going to say first, and it knows that first is actually a number because in our constants we declare first as 1. So like these are our 9 balls, our billiard balls that we're rendering, but for some reason we're not able to just reassign a next map into a current map, which I'm not understanding why we can't do that. If we take this and we say, okay, our current map gets a hard-coded map of 1, 2, which is our map, our second level, this works fine. And what that would mean, we're back to, we just did our right for now. And left, I guess. So let's try left, let's see. If we go right, we get level 2, that works. If we go left, we get level 2. So we're trying to put our next map into our current map so that we can render the floor. Because by the time we finish transitioning, our next map becomes our current map. So that's what we're trying to do, but I don't get why we can't say that our next map, our current map gets our next map. Why does that make us crash here? It doesn't make us crash, it just doesn't render the current map. So are we saying... I don't get why it does that. Because the only thing we change... I don't know why it's doing that. Because our next map should be a map object at the index of whatever our map row is and our map column is. And if we do it like that, just a new map object, we render the level still after having done it. So why is it that once we put our next map into that current map, it stops rendering the floor? There's something in our next map that we're not understanding. When we initialize, our next map becomes nil, and our current map gets to be whatever index we put in. It just gets in the map row and column. Okay. So I don't know why this is happening. I really thought today was going to be a really easy, simple, straightforward episode. By the time we finish shifting, our current map should get our next maps. Let's take a look at our next map. Make sure we're assigning that a correct map object. So we start off as nil, which is correct, and then when we do a transition, we actually, depending on what transition it is, we're getting, yeah, a hard-coded map 1, 2. So what's so weird is we're hard-coding in the 1, 2 here, and then we're changing its offset for the rendering, which is working, but by the time we finish transitioning, and maybe, let me just turn this off and see if, yeah, let me just see if we can do that. If we turn on our assignment from our current map gets our next map, and we turn off this next map gets nil, because we were just overriding that. We shouldn't, and actually that's okay, because we don't need a reference to our next map anymore, because it's now our current map. So I don't think this would fix it, but why does it stop rendering? That's what I want to know. Now it renders the current map, and then if we're transitioning, then it renders the next map, and that's working, but our current map is not. So what are we missing? That our current map is just not rendering. Man, sorry guys, I wish I wasn't so stuck like this. It's not very exciting. Yeah, you would think that since next map is a map object at why wouldn't current map gets next map be appropriate to just render our floor? Because if we go into our scene instantiation and we say, you know what, we're gonna start at 1, 2, we render level 2 no problem. So why is it that when we go there, we just stop rendering it? What's going on? I'm tempted to just undo everything and just restart it and just see if we can't figure it out. I really don't know though. Hey, thanks for the follow, whoever followed. I really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 20. I don't know. I don't know why we're doing this. Yeah, I'm tempted to just undo everything we've done and just try to rethink it. Well, so another thing I want to think about is eventually I want this game to have entities, right? With characters you could talk to. And then ultimately there's going to be characters that kind of have a schedule throughout the day, because there's going to be a time aspect to the day, to the gameplay. And as the day progresses, different players are going to walk to different locations at different times of the day. So we actually need a way to keep track of entities' locations throughout our maps. And right now our maps are kind of separate tables. I guess we can add the functionality that a map also has a list of entities that gets updated, and as these entities' locations trigger, walking off screen, we would shift it to the next quad. But like, I'm trying to think of how we might be able to model that. Okay, this is bugging me. I don't know why. Let me see if we can spot in our get diff anything we kind of changed. Now in our map, we give it a different name. Instead of row and column, we give it a map row and map column. That makes sense. We give ourselves this transition direction, which we aren't really doing anything with. Okay. I really think that we shouldn't be making all these errors. Like, why is this happening? If we go, so here, if we go to get last, we can see all our commits here. And we've got our last commit here. So what I'm going to try to do is... Why can't I copy this? I guess it doesn't really matter. We're going to get reset. We're going to get reset our state to be this last commit. So it'll be effectively like we are erasing all of our work today because everything's just broken. So now we've got this. So if we do a get diff, we've got nothing. So now our rendering is back to what it was yesterday, which at least that's working. So I just need to rethink how we're doing this. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not as simple as I thought it was. I just accidentally killed our tmux session. Okay. I don't even know what to try to do differently. We know we need to change this, right? We know we need to change that, and we know we need to change this. So let's try to do it just for one direction. Let's not get too bold yet. Let's just try to get going right working. So since our current map, oh, you know what? This map row and map column is, okay, I think I just figured it out actually. Well, yeah, our map row and column is a field of our scene class, not our map class. So that might be a reason why we were indexing incorrectly and stuff. Let's see if having that knowledge fixes our mistake here. So now if we want to change the maps, if we want to change the next map into the correct index, we have to do the next map dot row and dot column, not dot map column or map row, because that's actually a field of our scene class. I think that's why it's been messing up. So let's just try it. Try to just do the right transition, right? So let's say if it's on a right transition, we want to check if our self.current map, we want to see if our self.current map is not equal to, and it's not map, it's dot map. If we're going to the right, we want to make sure our map our map column is not equal to the max width, which is overworld max width, which is 5. Look at this LSP doing the work for us here, knowing that it's 5. That's really cool. So if we're not equal to 5 on our map column, go ahead and begin shifting. And we don't want to just begin shifting. We want to assign our map, our next map. So instead of doing it here in our shifting function, because whatever we put in here is being called for every single transition, no matter what transition it is. So we need to give the specific next map upon the transition here. So we'll say that our next map dot, if we're going to the right, we're updating our column. So we're going to say that our next map's column is now going to be set to itself plus 1. And we could do it. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't that work? We go right, our next map is the next column. And our next map is ultimately, we gotta put a map instantiation here. So we've got to say that our next map gets set to a map instantiation. Yeah, we have to do this. Next map gets a map instantiation, and it's an instantiation of the table at our same column. So it would be self.currentMap.row. So our same current maps row, but it would be whatever our current maps dot column is plus 1. So now that we've got that, see, and this is where we messed up. We put in the same field as our scene class has than as our map. So I think it just got confused there, because current map is a map instantiation which only has a .row field. Well, let's see if that fixes it, because that would be nice. So we're assigning our next map to be a map instantiation of one column to the right if we move to the right and we're not already at the rightmost grid. So let's try that. So we've got this next map assignment. We do it right before we begin shifting, but then we need to reset our current map. At the end of shifting, we need to set our current map equal to whatever our self.next map is equal to, and let's see if that is doing stuff. Let's see if we render by the time we stop. And we're gone. God damn it. Why is it doing that? I don't get why. Because if we put in a map 1, 2, it renders fine. But we're literally just putting in a 1, 2. Let me see if we put in our next map, but then when we assign our next map, instead of doing this, we literally just give it a map. We're saying self.next map is just given the instantiation of our 1, 2, which should be exactly what we're doing with the line we just commented out. Does it render or does it crash? It doesn't render. So why doesn't that work? Why can't we assign? We gotta assign this. Current map is a map object, and so is our next map. It starts off as nil, but we wanna make it. Wow, this is just really confusing me. So our next map gets a map object, and it doesn't change our map row, whatever our current map row is, which is whatever gets passed in here, which is whatever our argument is, which is 1 in our case. So it's going to be a map at 1, comma, and then the column plus 1. Now the map column is, the current map column is the current map argument right here. So this is whatever gets passed in here. And whatever gets passed in here is this, and whatever this is this argument. So what if, maybe, let me just try. I don't know why this would make a difference, but let me just see what happens if we put in the parameter here instead of this object or the field or whatever you want to call it. Let's see if that changes anything. Okay, so now it's a map at our current map. And you know what? Let's say our current map dot row, same row, 1 column to the right. And then our next map gets put into our current map. So why doesn't that work? I don't know why we stopped rendering. I don't know why we stopped rendering. We take a look. we render the next map. And we're rendering it at this adjacent X offset, which we aren't actually resetting. Yeah, when do we reset the adjacent X offset for our next map? That might be why it's not rendering, but we should be setting that to 0, actually. So let's make sure we do that. And yeah, let's make sure we do that. We want to do that before we assign it to our current map. So we'll say that our self.nextMap dot adjacent offset, both of them get reset to 0. Okay, this might be it. We set our adjacent offset to 0, then we copy it into the current map, which should not shift the rendering any, and then we wipe our next map. So let's see now if we render. Please render when we stop walking. Yes, we do. Okay, so that was it. How did we get away with not doing that? I think it's because it's because when we initialize this, even though it's the same object, it actually isn't the same object, because when we initialize a map object, we have those 0 values already. So that's why it was not working unless we actually gave the instantiation. So that helps me, in the future to know in a similar way. Okay, let's get going. Now that we know what was wrong, we'll go ahead and do the rest of this. So let's do a left transition. So we want to limit our left transitions. So we don't want to begin shifting if our self.currentMap has a column of 1. So we're going to say if our current map column does not equal 1, then we're going to go ahead, oh my god, and we're going to actually not only begin shifting, but we need to give ourselves the next map. So we're going to say next map gets our map object, and we need a left transition would be the same row, column -1. So it would be a self.currentMap.row, and then a self.currentMap column -1. And then we're assigning the next map, so we shouldn't need it there. And then, yep, then we're resetting the offset. Okay, so that should be all we need. Let's see if going left is working. Scene 14 is, let's see. This needs to be an equal sign, obviously. Okay, so we can't go left because our current column is 1, meaning there's no maps to the left of us, so we can't go left. But if we go right, then can we go back left? And it's level 1 again. So that's what we've been trying to do this whole time. It's like we go to 2 and now we're going back to 1. That's different than what we had at the start of this. So now let's limit going up, because right now we crash. So we'll go into our up and we'll do a similar thing where we say we only begin shifting if our self.currentMap has a row that is not equal to 1. So like if we can only go up if we're not at the topmost row of our map. So we'll say, okay, here, that's when we begin shifting. And then we say, we need our map assignment, our next map assignment. And we say that our next map gets a map object at, and it's gonna be the current row -1 if we're not at the first row when we start the transition. So current map dot row -1 because we're going up, and then we need a column, current map dot column of the same. So we don't change columns, we just go up 1 row. Then for this down transition, we say we're only gonna transition down if our next map, if our current map is not equal to the bottommost thing, which is an overworld max height. So we have a 5x5 grid for our maps. If our row is 5, we can't go down, and we'll begin shifting as long as we're not equal to 5. And then we also need to assign our next map to be equal to a map object that is at our current map's row, but at a current map's column plus 1. So we say current map dot column plus 1. Okay, now the thing is, in order to test down working, we need to actually give us a room down for us to walk in. So we'll go to our map declarations here, and we'll give us another level to walk down into, which right now we're just kind of declaring them all in a nasty, just a glob of text like this. But we'll make this prettier, because we want 2-1 would be the second row, but the first column of the map. So this would be where we'd go if we go down. So if we go down, we're going to change all these seconds into third boxes, billiard balls, if you will, and mess that up. Highlight, substitute every second for third globally, and then we'll go all these. Let's just go change all these seconds. We'll say every second that's here will actually change into a third billiard ball. I did the same thing. I keep doing the same thing. I cancel it right when I'm done. Substitute second for third, and then enter. Okay, so now we have a map right below us. So now we should be able to go into a third level here, and it is not the correct level. So we're not able to transition up, and it's not. Am I thinking of the table wrong? Do I have it? Let me. No, 1, 2. It should be X is 1 for the height. So we're giving us a table for every height, and then for every Y, every width in the height, we're giving us another table at the X index, which is our height. So it should be rows. This first one should be our row, and then, so why is it that 2-1 is still are 2 billiard balls instead of 3? Now we are changing our next map to be a column of +1 if we go down. So if it's the second, it should be 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2 is actually there. I might have been thinking of this wrong, or I just did it wrong here in the scene, because a down transition should be a row +1. Yeah. A down transition should be a row +1, same column. So, my bad. So we should see the 3 billiard balls going down here. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Now, if we go back up, we're back at level 1. We go right, we're at level 2. If we go left, we're back at 1, down, back at 3. So we've got this kind of cohesive memory state of different sprites to render now. Now, if we go down here, we crash because we don't have it. We need to give it these we need to assign something in this 2D table, otherwise it doesn't know what to render because nothing's assigned. So we have to kind of go through and give default values. Now I guess what we could do is we could do a nested for loop and just go through every single thing and just give it a default, so that it doesn't crash. But I guess we just need to build this out ultimately. So like What's a good way to build this out so that, oh, and you know what? Let's test that we can't go left. We can't go left here. We can't go up. Now, if we go right, we should not be able to go up, but we can go left. Okay. And then if we go down to 3, we should be able to go not left, but up. Okay. It's looking like those are working. So like we're at the edge of our map here. Now, ideally, we want to be able to render which map we're currently in as well. So we'll add that to our render here, or our debug. So let's go ahead and do that, make that a little more helpful to us. In our play state here, we've got, if we search for H, which is the button we're pressing, so maybe it's in our main. H, no? Let's search for H. And it's in our play state. It is in our play state, okay. So, take off the frame, we'll take off the inputs. We'll just do print our XY. We're printing, yeah, we don't need any of these. We've got the keylogger and the both rendering is working, so we can kind of just take those out. Our last input's working. We don't really care about this at the moment, but we'll keep them there in case we want to debug some stuff. But we're going to print our X and Y for our character. So let's go ahead and just make this kvoth.x and then kvoth.y so that we know what we're looking at. And then we'll give ourselves a new, we'll say, oh, and you know what? It should be above. It should be above our kvoth just because it's, oh my goodness, okay. So what we're trying to do is put in our map value of whatever current map we're at. So it's a map global table, and we'll insert into here. Now we have to do this a little differently in Lua. We give it one string like that, and then we concatenate, and we need to concatenate with a string of our scene's current map. And if we take a look, we should have a scene instantiated. Yeah, we do. We have a scene view, which is what we need to go change, and we'll go so map at brackets, and we need our scene view at our current map row for our first thing to insert. So map that, and then we need to concatenate again with a string that closes that. Then we start a new string, or a new bracket. We end that, and we concatenate that with a stringified version of our scene view dot current map dot column now, and then we need to concatenate that with a string of ending bracket, and then that'll print out our map at whatever bracket it is. Oopsie. Okay. And then we'll print that up just above our other debugging. We'll put it up at 15, and we'll see. So if we hold H, we see a map 1-1, and then it should switch to map 1-2, and then we'll crash if we go down, so we're going to go over here to 2-1. So now we've got our map rendering, so hopefully that can help. I kind of think, and you know what, we can make this a little more readable. We can either choose a different font, and the thing is, this game is so tiny, so like if we go into our constants here, we can toggle this for our Game Boy resolution, so we can see how big this game actually is. And we did it wrong. We want the same virtual width. All we do is toggle this on and toggle this off. Okay. So that's our game. That's our game, so that's why the text is so hard to read, because we're literally rendering it that tiny. Yeah. So we can either make the font bigger, or we can add a little drop shadow to it to read it a little bit better. I definitely think you know what? I got a real easy thing to do for this. What we can do is go into our play state, and before we render, we're just gonna set our color here to something different. So let's say that we go into our constants, and we're gonna go to where we save white. We're gonna make this. We've already got a gray. Let's just give it a. It really doesn't matter what color it is. Let's just say we give it like 100 on the red, 100 on the green, full blue, but then we want like really transparent. So like maybe only 50 on the alpha channel. And then we'll call this, we'll just call this debug background. So we'll go into our play state, and now instead of setting all those values, all we have to do is change this to debug background, and it should be that darker color so we can see. And you know what? It's not the font. It's not the font that we want to change that. It's the we want to clear the screen with that color. So we say .clear with that color, and then we will set our font for our debugging to be not our font, set our color to be equal to our white, so we get full white debugging, but we clear the screen with that. And then do we set it to white? We do. Actually, we clear it with gray, which I guess as long as we set our color to white for, let's see. So, okay. So our clear doesn't care about our transparency. So we need to do this a little differently. So we need to, I guess what we can do is we can set the color to this transparent, and then we can render a whole square rectangle. And this takes in a couple of things. The first thing is a option for a draw type, which we want a fill, and then we want an X and a Y, which is a 0 and a 0, and then a width and a height, which is our virtual width and our virtual height. So now pressing okay, pressing H should render a little screen for us to help see, and I don't like that. We want it to be darker. I guess we want the opacity bigger. Let's literally just go pure black, but a low opacity. So we say 0 on the color, and then maybe 90 on the opacity, and we'll see what that looks like. So we can read it a bit better now. I think that's okay. So yeah, we see map 1-1, map 2-1, map 1-1 again, and then map 1-2. Okay. Okay, so this is nice. This is nice. We're limiting the way we can go off screen. We can't just willy-nilly transition. It depends on what square we're in. And then now that means we just need to give us 25 declarations of this map 2D array and populate them with the tile sets so that we can actually walk through these. But this is huge. This is great. So I'm going to add in a couple notes for me. I do want to add a little heart. Add 3 health hearts on HUD. We'll get rid of our growth DX by the time we get hearts on the screen, and we'll need things, you know, on our HUD here. It's gonna have different things, like it might have the time of day, because I think the daytime loop is going to be a big part of this game. So we'll get rid of our FPS, we'll get rid of Kavoth DX, and on our HUD here, we'll put our little hearts here, like Link's Awakening, and then we'll give ourselves a little equip option for what item we have equipped. So if we pick something up, it'll be here, or if we're holding something, it'll be here, and then maybe the day of the week or whatever, I don't know. Our inventory, maybe, you know, how many monies we've got or whatever. So we'll redo that HUD so it looks a little more game accurate for what we want. So we'll add 3 health hearts to HUD, and then we want to add inventory to HUD. That might be too soon to be worrying about that, but I kind of want to just, you know, because it's like we're so close to having the game look really good with being able to walk to different maps, and they're all different sprites, and we can build out our map sets. So by the time we do our sprite sets, if we have a HUD that looks pretty good and it doesn't just say Kavoth DX there in a weird font, it'll start to polish up the game, and then it'll just, you know, make it look better for streams, and we'll all have a little bit more fun getting to it. A lot like how we focused on Kavoth first, because that was important to make it fun for the development process, right? So we're gonna do that, add inventory to HUD, and then we want to, we've got to populate all maps in global map table. And then we ultimately need to make our full sprite sheet so that we can draw more complex levels. And then what else do we want to do? What's the next steps? I guess the next steps is getting all our maps going so that we can actually go right to level 2, and then ultimately down to this next level, because right now we just crashed. So we need to declare all the potential maps, which right now is 25, because our overworld width and height is set to 5.5. So I might look up what Link's Awakening's got and see if 5.5 is anywhere near enough. We might make it bigger. We might have it start small, and then expand it as our world gets bigger. But I don't know just yet. So what else do we want to do? We've got how many grids for our master map table, how many sprites in our master sprite sheet for indexing all the different artwork. What else? I guess that's good enough for now. So tomorrow's episode will probably be populating all maps, and I think what I'm going to do is just write a nested for loop to go populate all of our maps with just generic tiles. So like everything is just going to get 1 billiard balls, so that we can walk there potentially and have the game not crash. But then as we add in the next sprite sheets, we'll be able to make it look how it should look with the correct decorations and everything. And then, so I think what I'm going to do is put this in a next episode. Let's say next episode, and I never follow that, but we'll start kicking off the episodes by checking our to-do list and then kind of making a game plan. And then we just prevent this from happening. So we can just say we do that. And then I do want to see if we want to render our Kavoth in our scene class instead of our play state. I'm curious about that. It might screw up the rendering for the character, but I want to take a look at that, because eventually we're going to be having a bunch of entities in all the other maps potentially interacting with our character, and I don't want to necessarily have to I just kind of want them all in the same kind of spot. Like Kavoth should kind of be with the other entities, I think. So it might be in the scene, but I don't know yet because we haven't gotten that far. But that's what's on the table for the next couple episodes. So we'll call it a day. Let's stop that. What we'll do is check our git diff for what we did. We've got new notes. So we limited what our next map is going to be based on what is a legal input, and then we adjust our adjacent offset X for our current map. We gave us a level 3 map, and then we added some better debugging with our map location so that we can take a look at that, make sure that's working right as we develop. So we'll do a git commit of added, what do we call it? Legal scene transitions. And then better debug for map location. Cool. And we'll get push. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back tomorrow, probably around the same time, 7-ish. And I'll, continue to work on the game. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, this channel is game development for beginners, made by a beginner. So I'm here if you want to talk game dev stuff or just watch my development progress. Thanks for watching, aka Bob. Good night, dude. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shift out to my thanks for watching stream, and then I'll raid out if anyone wants to raid out. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.